that's
for real, like the gang graffiti is like the shit. That LA gang graffiti is the fuck cholo shit is the shit.
everywhere has their little styles of that stuff, but yeah.
That's kind of the first thing you started seeing, or what?
Yeah, that's the first thing that influenced me as far as graffiti wise. I probably was into graffiti before I was fully into hip hop. I think
And did you start off like picking up hand styles from like the gang graffiti?
Yeah, I was just trying to bite what they were doing. I was
Kinda
writing some
emulate it.
stupid shit.
You remember what you wrote first? Your first name or what?
Yeah, it was Ioki or
Ioki.
Ioke. Yeah,
Okay, how'd you come up with that name, Ioki?
I just like the letters. It's just the way it was shaped. I don't know. I just liked it. It's not even a word. So
How old were you when you caught like your first couple tags? Do you remember? You were real young.
yeah, I mean, I was like 9 or 10, but when I first started like getting tagged with like tips and like kind of understand what it was, it was probably between 12 and 13.
And how did you kind of like start like taking it serious or kind of like stepping your game up?
I actually I had a bunch of friends that kind of did graffiti, but my buddy Lust from Denver, I met him skateboarding with some of my friends, and I seen him getting tags, and he has like, still to this day, probably one of my favorite hand styles because he was doing it way before everyone was doing it, but now you see his shit and you're like, oh, people do that, but like he was like,
Now it's the norm. Back then it was like,
yeah,
this is tight.
but a weird kind of calligraphy, choppy, hand style. But like I seen what he was doing, and he just had cool tags. He was putting them in cool spots. Like still to this day, if I had to like pick any of the aspects of graffiti, piecing, bombing, whatever, it would be tagging. Just straight up
Tagging
tags.
your numero uno?
That's just my favorite shit. Like
Explain that, why?
It's
'Cause-
meditative, and really when you like, if you're like really like a cutty person, I don't give a fuck if you suck at tagging, you have a good tag, whatever. But if you do a lot of tagging and you try to get like
The
all
right
city
spots, yeah.
or whatever, and you get into cutty shit, you start developing appreciation for your city. You see all the crevices and you see all the dirty shit. You just see crazy shit. It's just a crazy experience when you're really heavily into it and you like do a lot of it. It's interesting,
What do you when like someone tells you like when you're painting because you do pieces too?
Yeah.
And I know people have come up to you and said this before. It's a classic phrase, but when they come up to you and said, "I love your murals and I love your pieces, but I hate that damn tagging."
Shit. Yeah.
And they don't understand what's really going on. Can you explain that to them? Like the essence and like without the tag.
Yeah, there's some graffiti documentaries, quote unquote, that talk about it, but I don't know. It's like you wouldn't have anything if you didn't have the tag first.
Exactly.
Period. Like that's why even some people in our crew, they're not like all about tags, but I always promote it. Everyone's like, oh, freeway spots, rooftops, fucking paint, which is dope.
You gotta have everything if you're about it.
Yeah, I look at it like your toss-ups, your pieces, whatever, your legal bullshit is like the power pellets when you play Pac-Man, and your tags are like the small pellets. It's like
So you gotta
holds everything together.
It's like the glue.
And I always say too, how well do you know your city if you don't ever get a lot of tags in your city or like king your city in that aspect of its tagging? Because it's so much more than a lot of people think. And of course, it takes more skill probably to paint a big ass wall and do pieces and shit. But I have an okay tag, and I'm fucking old as fuck, and I've been doing it for a while, and I still barely have a few that I'm comfortable with. But I like my pieces usually, and it's not. I don't know. There's just a lot to tags. Like people that tag, they know. They know what I'm talking about. It's just there's something about it. It's like that exploratory thing. It's like adventuring and shit.
Right.
It's crazy.
I hate doing this, but who are some of the cats in the town over like the years that are good with the tags? That you know what I mean? That kind of are on that level.
Fuck, people are gonna hate me for some of this shit because I'm not gonna say everybody. There's not that many for me, but
Right.
I hate to admit it, but that fucking dude Goo gave me like made me pay attention to my hand styles. We might not be cool anymore, all our shit's squashed or whatever, but we don't have a lot of love for each other. But I have to say, he helped me get my tag game on point because I was always like artsy fartsy and doing weird shit, stencils. But him, he still does shit. You gotta fucking, I don't know, like nobody likes that fool, but you gotta recognize when it's still around and is what it is. I'd definitely give it up to Voice. He like sometimes when I first started like really getting up heavily, like I couldn't believe some of the places his fool had tags. It was just like
And can you give like a couple examples?
I don't know. So like I don't know. Would you give props to like a writer for it? Someone that like tags a lot,
Like-
is their tag placement.
Right. So kind of like some.
So it was in every city, everywhere you go, in the weirdest spot, like down low on a pole or a little cutty inside, like in between two signs, weird spots
Just
you
kind
get
of
tagged.
weirdo,
So that,
weirdo spots.
like the other, I hate to say it, but taggers or writers
We'll see.
will see, and the common person or the lame won't know. You be walking around, you'll catch that shit inside your eye, or you hopped up on a dumpster, put your bike up against a sign, and just fucking risk busting your asses for a fucking little tag, but in the weirdest spot. And those things run for fucking. I've seen tags of mine that are fucking 18, 19 years old just recently. Same with Voice and shit like that. I know that dude Dime back in the day too. He had really cool tags and tag placement. I know he still does shit out there, but he was one of them I thought was tight. The homie Quote always had a trippy little hand style, and he used to get a lot of tags and shit. So
And real quick, we can't leave out Fever. R.I.P.
yeah, Fever's hand styles like that kid. Fuck, he didn't even get started, bro.
He's ahead of his time. He was like,
he was just like waiting for his time, I think, or something. He was so hard on himself. He wouldn't like.
was he his biggest critic?
Yeah, for sure. Fuck yeah.
Did he think like his shit wasn't like on that level? Where
He used to always say it was all right.
Yeah,
That's what he said. Yeah, it's all right. Or he would say like, one time he was talking to me, and he was like, "Dude, I really want to paint with you and shoe, but I'm not on your guys' level." I'm like, "You are, man. You just gotta paint with people like that, like us or whoever. Someone that's in your eyes better than you. Learn from it. But yeah, he never fully started, and I met Fever when he was, I want to say 11. He got put in his first graffiti crew was SK. He got put in NORAD's mom's backyard in like a SK party.
And how old was he?
He's
young.
like 11,
Right.
dude. He was like
I kind of heard
my
the story a little
son's
bit.
age, dude. Like,
You guys put him down in the crew?
yeah, he was pretty crazy. I mean, he was about it. He just came in the backyard and he's like, "What's up, guys?" That shit. But yeah, man, he has. I could imagine the hand styles he had that no one's seen. It's that fucking alcohol. Those fucking poisonous bitches, man. Will fucking hold the motherfucker back. But yeah, he has some cool ass hand styles. Homie Trek has some cool hand styles too.
His tag kind of looks like yours.
Yeah, he admits it. He was influenced by me. We all have our influences for sure. But he still got some good hand styles. He just needs to do it more there, buddy.
Hey, well, I know you were big time in graffiti, but honestly, like to me, it sounds like you were just big time into hip hop because you did a little
All the
rapping, you
elements,
said,
everything.
even breakdance.
Yeah. Yep. I was just hanging out at that Who's Shining show and watching those fools break. I'm like, damn, I used to be all right at that, but not at my age no more, no. But yeah, I was in all the elements. Like,
You break a hip or something like me.
oh, dude, that's a
I can
risk.
pop line. That's about it. I can't hit the floor or nothing.
Let's take a risk dancing, not break dancing, because I will break something. But yeah, I was always into I got heavily into hip hop like fast, and I started understanding what it was, and I was figuring like, if you're gonna be into it, you got to do at least. I don't know. It's easy to get good at one element. You could that's easy shit. You can get really good at that if you're dedicated and you focus and you understand your history and how to learn and shit. But getting good or at least decent at every element, I think is, that was my goal. I thought that shit was like tight. You just always on, it's like your force field, like battle ready and shit,
You're ready to go.
Yep.
Now it's different, right?
Yeah.
People don't know about the history. People don't really put in the work. IG's kind of,
You know what trips me out about that? Is people won't know their history, but they're fucking super talented. They have especially, I'm going to say specifically in graffiti, people will have the talent and the skill set and all the bells and whistles, good letter structure, effects, all that shit, but then they don't know their history, or they don't do illegal graffiti. I feel like I don't know, people get pissed when you say this, but even if you have the best hand style, the best piecing style, best everything, you're good at all your shit, but then you don't do illegal shit, I'm just kind of like, you do artwork, you know, and you kind of do.
You're an artist.
Yeah. And
Like,
you
keep
do
it real.
in the urban style or graffiti.
Ain't nothing wrong with that.
Style.
But you're an artist.
But yeah, the history thing is what bothers me, you know.
Explain to them what like a real graffiti writer is. You touched it a little bit. Tell them what a real graffiti writer is.
Like a real, like just one that's on point, or just with the like everything, or just like tagging. Like for me, a real writer is someone that does illegal shit. But the thing is, for me, is it doesn't even matter how much you do, as long as you stay consistent. Like there's a lot of people that get really good at graffiti, they fucking shine, they kill it, but then they fall off. They got like these 3-4 year careers.
Right.
And I get it. They're gonna go off to their graphic design shit and whatever, their music shit, whatever they do. But for me, a real graffiti artist is someone that's constantly evolving, even if it's like baby steps, and someone that's persistent and continues to do it, you know, as they exist. You don't just do it for like a couple summers or some shit, you know. Like if I'm in my late 40s and I still go on mile-long walk missions just to get tags, you know. Whenever I can afford it, I'll go out of state. I'm always down to paint and do shit, you know. It's just like a real writer is someone that's passionate about it and is persistent with it and consistent with it in some form. So you can fall off and come back, but as long as you're
consistent and put in a little bit of work.
Yeah, as long as you just
keeping it out there.
Yep, and I think the illegal part of it, you know, it's kind of the definition of what graffiti is.
I think that's the main thing, just getting up in the streets. That's graffiti.
Yep. Simply put, that's straight up graffiti.
And then like you're kind of adding on to that. Like, what's a top notch graffiti writer? Like the best. Say the best of the best. I mean,
I think if someone's like top.
If you're a king, what is a king?
A king is someone, like I said, is persistent. That they have everything. You know, you can.
That's what I'm getting at right there.
They
got hand.
You don't have the best hand style. Say you have a good hand style. You can piece. You can do bubbles. You can do straight throwies.
You can do a roller.
And the more important thing is too is like, and I'll even admit it, it's hard for me sometimes to stay humble or not exert ego and shit, but it's important to fucking like notice it and like remember who your influences are and all that shit. Like again, back to your history. So like, and it's like
some homage.
You know, I hate doing that just because, but like I'll say right now, the people that fucking have been pushing me, like I finally met that fool Tumor, and like that motherfucker's just like in your face honest, bro. Like he just half the time no filter, but you know I'm older. I'm like that fool's age, and the way his mentality was, I was just like, all right, kind of made me think a little bit differently about graffiti, and it's very rare that you meet people like that. You know, Shoe's one of them. Like that motherfucker, I remember when he was little, and then he's just like good at everything, bro, and he does it fast, effortlessly and shit like that.
It's nothing.
Yeah, and I'm a artsy motherfucker, and I got a lot of skill set, but sometimes that fool just does shit so effortlessly. I'm just like, whoa, all right.